Nebraska just wrapped up their final week of fall practice in their last scrimmage of the year. And man, oh man, over these past couple hours, I've learned some exclusive inside nuggets on everything going on. Our last edition of Breakout Players, the studs, the duds, a couple positional groups that have broke through over these past couple weeks. One massive concern going into the Cincinnati game that the coaching staff needs to address. And then at the end of the video, let's address the elephant in the room. Is the hype real around this team? Will we win 8, 9, 10 games? What are the massive obstacles in our way? And everything else you need to know. So really quick, this video is jammed with information from start to finish. Hit that like button if you're fired up. And also, we just hit 13,000 subscribers on the channel. If you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Listen, this is the only place, I repeat, the only place where you can get daily content, talk your favorite team, talking Huskers. It's a no-brainer. It takes 2 seconds. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Folks, we are 4 days away from Nebraska kicking off their season versus Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium. And with that being said, we just wrapped up fall camp. We just wrapped up our final scrimmage of the year. So there's a lot of big time nuggets, a lot of murmurs around this team going into Thursday night. And I want to get this video started on a positive note. We'll get to some of the massive concerns later, whether or not the hype is real, all the breakout players as this video progresses. But I want to start things off with all the positional groups, specifically in this last week, that really have broke through, that have turned a corner and have played very, very good football. I want to start things off with the defensive line, because that's arguably been Nebraska's biggest question mark going into the season. Not only getting to the quarterback consistently in the pass rush, but also stopping the run, having some breakout players, guys like Elijah Judy, rather than Popple, even a Williams-Nwaneri. Well, I'm here to tell you that the defensive line over these past couple days, particularly in the scrimmage on Thursday, they really looked great. Now, are they winning the battle of the trenches compared to our offensive line? No, but that's a good thing. We expect this offensive line to be one of the best in the Big Ten, but it was a lot more competitive. And again, it starts with some of our leaders, like Elijah Judy. He had a very strong fall ball from start to finish. There's a reason why he's starting at nose tackle. He's been looking really good. Keona Davis has took a big leap over these past 2 weeks. Now, is he the Ndamukong Suh that, he was compared to when he got to Nebraska? Not yet, but again, it has been a noticeable leap. And honestly, the biggest X factor for this entire defensive line unit has been Williams-Nwaneri. And I've told you guys over this offseason, if he can break out, if he can live up to his 5-star potential, he takes Nebraska's defensive line from being average, middle of the road, to potentially one of the best in the Big Ten with his playmaking ability alone, with his ability to get to the quarterback in a split second, with his upside, with his speed. He's a stud, man. And there's a reason why when they released that depth chart just a couple days ago that he's likely going to start against Cincinnati, because his upside is unbelievable and he's been playing very well in fall practice. So again, this entire defensive line has really shined over these past couple days. And even some of the depth pieces like Jalen George, we should talk about. He's been playing well. Cade Petchock, true freshman, he has broke through. He's probably not going to redshirt for the Huskers. Stopping the run really has been improved. The only big concern to this day is whether or not these guys can get to the quarterback consistently, and it starts with the defensive line, and it also starts with the jack play. And the jack play has not been phenomenal in fall practice. I mean, Deshaun McCall has been good, but you get past him. Wilson McGahee hasn't been too impressive. That's why he's the third string jack. Jordan Show has been okay. But again, the main concern in my mind still this defensive line. Can they get to the quarterback consistently? But I feel so much better about them from a depth standpoint, from a stopping the run standpoint, and also just overall just having playmakers on this defensive line. Like Elijah Judy, I think it's going to be a lot better than people are giving him credit for. I think Keona Davis is going to be a lot better than what people are giving him credit for. Even a Jalen George. So the defensive line, I'm happy to report that they looked a lot better this week in particular going into game week. And then, the tight end plays also look pretty solid. Luke Lindenmeyer, he's held his own. Has Luke Lindenmeyer broke out in a big way? No, but he's done everything that he needs to solidify himself as tight end 1. And also, you go to tight end 2, it's up to Heinrich, Haarberg, or Carr Nelson. It's easily going to be Carr Nelson going to Cincinnati. Like he's just a better athlete. He has better size, and he's the better blocker. That's what it's going to come down to. Carr Nelson is the better blocker right now versus Heinrich Haarberg. He's been playing the position for a lot longer as well. And again, he has that upside to be a future big-time NFL player. Heinrich Haarberg, he's just making the transition a little bit too late. So both those guys are very aggressive, got some speed to him, got some upside to him. But Carr Nelson, expect him to be tight end too. He's had a pretty solid fall camp these last couple weeks. And then Haarberg, again, he's still going to have a role in this offense, but there's just no pity snaps for him this year, right? Last year, Satterfield put him in the ball game because it kind of felt bad for him at times. Dana Holgerson's not going to do that. We're going to have the best player play, and right now, Luke Lindmeier's the best tight end, Carr Nelson's the second best tight end, and so on. So, by the time play, it's looking decent. Is it the best on this team? No. It is still a little bit of concern just because you don't have like a guy there. You don't have an elite player there. You just have a bunch of decent players. So hopefully that Luke Lindmeier can break out maybe as the season progresses, but he's been solid. And then we got to end things off, talking about these upgraded positional groups, the running back play. I hope I eat crow on this running back unit because I've been I'll just say it, I've been pretty harsh about it. I have concerns about this running back unit. And you go to Emmett Johnson, he's great. I have no concerns about him. I think it's going to be Nebraska's best starting running back since Davila Zigbo. But when you get to the depth, when you get to the Mekhi Nelson of the world, Isaiah Mozee, the Quinn Ives, I had my concerns. And honestly, they've looked very good. They've shut me up a little bit so far in fall camp. Mekhi Nelson had a great scrimmage 1. He had a great scrimmage 2, and he had a great scrimmage 3 just a couple days ago. He looks awesome. Isaiah Mozee, he's very coachable. He's somebody who I don't have any questions about him from a playmaking standpoint, from a catching standpoint. I'm only worried about him as a blocker. So really, this entire running back unit, it looks decent. Emmett Johnson, of course, I expect him to be fine. The thing around Emmett is how high he can fly. Like, how good is he actually going to be, compare him to the other Big Ten running backs? Like, we know he's going to be a solid player for Nebraska, but can he be a top 10 Big Ten back or even top 5? That's my question around him. So the running back play, it looks good. We've heard the hype. We've heard the speculation. Awesome. But they need to prove it against Cincinnati because all this practice stuff is great, but it doesn't matter if you go out there against the Bearcats, you don't actually prove it on the football field. So the running back play looks good from what we've heard. They're starting to buy a lot of Mekhi Nelson stock, inside that building. Hopefully we see it against the Bearcats. So those are all the upgraded positional groups. Let's go next to the breakout players. Now, these players will not only be week 4's breakout players, but all the breakout players throughout all fall camp. The guys who really just shined over these past couple weeks that I want to highlight. Let's get things started with the guy who we just talked about. Mekhi Nelson really came along well. He was running back 2 pretty much at the end of week 1 and really wasn't even up for debate. So I just think he's a very complete running back from everything we've heard, with the speed, with the upside, with the size. He's somebody who they feel comfortable blocking on third downs, which is something that we desperately need in this running back core. So really, Mekhi Nelson is a complete back. It does concern me a little bit that, he pretty much was gifted this running back 2 job. It wasn't really competition because Quinn Ives was injured. Isaiah Mozee was still making that transition. So yes, we're hyping him up right now, but really he didn't earn it too well because there really wasn't anybody in his way. But with that being said, he's played very well, but I just need to see it against the Bearcats, and I need to see it consistently as the year progresses. But he's somebody who the coaching staff, they really, really like. I'm going to go to Jeremiah Jones in my next spot here. Jeremiah Jones had a very strong fall camp to the point where, going into fall ball, I was concerned if he was going to be registered or not, because we know with the upside, him being 6'4", 225, he runs a 4.4. Like, there's no reason for him to sit on the bench. But for me, it was all about, okay, how quickly can you learn the playbook? How quickly can you allocate yourself, to this offense, to learning Big Ten defenses? And Jeremiah Jones, while he's not perfect, he's far from perfect. Right, he's not the best in the playbook standpoint. He's not the best. He's struggled a lot with his hands with dropping footballs so far. But he's just so naturally gifted, and that's been seen so far throughout Nebraska fall camp, where they're going to put him on the field no matter what. They're going to find a way to get him involved, the same way they did with Malachi Coleman or Xavier Betts, because he gives this offense something that we really don't have in anybody else. Right, the speed and the size, being 6'4", and he also runs a 4.4. We don't really have that anywhere else on the roster. So Jeremiah Jones had a strong fall ball, and he's going to play this year. He's going to have his red shirt burned. That's a fact. And then let us go to another wide receiver. I just think people don't talk about enough, but I want to highlight him. Nyziah Hunter is somebody who I think the fan base, they're going to fall in love with. I compare him a little bit to, I'd say he's a better Marcus Washington in pretty much every single way. He's kind of like a Larry Fitzgerald. He's not super speedy. He's not super big. He's not super tall, but he does everything so well. Okay, he's a great route runner. He's incredibly physical. He's incredibly productive. So, let's say Dane's not having the best game, or Jacory Barney's getting locked up. It's going to open up for Nyziah Hunter to have a big one, right? Or Nyziah Hunter's going to be wide open, in the red zone for a big touchdown. Okay, he was so productive last year. People forget he had 600 yards at Cal as a second-year player. So Nyziah Hunter, again, he's not the most flashy player in the world, so that's why you haven't heard all the big nuggets around him like you have with Dane or Jacory Barney. But Nyziah Hunter is going to be productive this year. And there's a very real possibility, I think more real than people are giving credit for, that he could not only lead this team in receptions, but even potentially in yards. Because he could be Dylan Raiola's best friend. He's rolling out, and Isaiah's wide open in the slot. So Nyziah Hunter, just wanted to give him some love there because he had a really strong fall ball and came along very well, specifically over these past couple weeks. And then, I'm going to go to Jeremiah Charles here at that 4th spot. He's Nebraska's corner 3 right now in the depth chart, backing up Sear Wright and Andrew Marshall. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I'm concerned about that because Jeremiah Charles was downright unplayable last year. Again, he was unplayable against UCLA. He was unplayable against Rutgers. He was burnt toast. And usually when you have a 6 foot tall corner who runs a legit 4.3, who's a freak athlete and he's getting burnt, that's a huge red flag because you're not getting burnt because of your speed. You're just getting burnt because from a technical standpoint, you're no good. So Jeremiah Charles, let's call it what it was. He wasn't very good last year, but that's in the past. And he has been phenomenal so far in fall camp. He's turned a page. Matt Rule said that he's one of the most improved players, not only in spring ball, but in fall ball. So there's a reason why he's corner 3. But once again, just like some of these other guys, I need him to prove that against Cincinnati. Okay, I need him to prove that, okay, he's worthy of being corner 3. Because the worst case scenario, is, we're playing against Cincinnati, or let's say Michigan. Tight ball game, going to the third quarter. Sear Wright goes out because he needs a breath of fresh air, right? It's been a long drive. Jeremiah Charles gets in the ball game, gets burnt by their best wide receiver, touchdown Michigan, right? Touchdown Cincinnati. That would be the worst case scenario. We can't give up those chunk plays again, which Jeremiah Charles gave up last year. So while he's very much improved, I'm still waiting and seeing on it. But again, I'm optimistic with his upside that he will be okay. And then I want to just highlight Grant Brooks real quick. Had a strong fall camp. He's Nebraska's second string right guard. I like him a lot more guard than I do tackle. So he's come along very well. Going to be in the mix to start next year. But Grant Brooks, a lot of people have a lot of affinity for this guy. He's going to be a big time force to recruit. Big recruiting win for Nebraska at the time. He's come along well. So he is in this 2 deep. And then last but not least, I'm going to give some love to Jordan Ochoa, who's our second string jack. He's going to play a lot specifically on third downs. There's going to be some packages where he's going to be in the ball game. And he's going to get probably 20, 25 snaps a game. So Jordan Ochoa, just get used to his name. Get used to 94 because he's going to be in the field a lot. Getting to the quarterback, they love his upside. They feel like he was a steal. I mean, people forget he was a walk-on, like originally coming out of Colorado. He was a preferred walk-on. So he's really done a good job since he got to Nebraska. But that entire jack room, it's solid right now. You got Deshaun, you got Jordan, you got Willis McGahee, who Willis just hasn't had the best fall camp. That's why he's jack 3. You even got Dawson Merritt, Dylan Rogers in there. So it's good. But once again, you're hoping Jordan Ochoa, Deshaun McCall, those two specifically can take it to a different level when we get to the season. All right, those are the breakout players. Let's get to the third conversational point. Let's talk special teams because I'm just going to give Mike Ekeler his flowers right now. Before we even see it against Cincinnati. Okay, maybe it's a little bit premature, but he's done a great job. Okay, he's only been here for a couple months. Pretty much every single flaw we had last year has been fixed, at least to a little bit of a degree. You can't fix everything in one offseason, right? There's going to be some issues. We're not going to go from one of the worst in the Big Ten to one of the first overnight. But with that being said, he's pretty much fixed all that he could. The kicker battle's wrapped up. On the depth chart, it says it's going to be Kaahaaina or John Hull. It's going to be Kaahaaina, and he's done a really good job in fall camp. He has the strongest leg of the bunch. He's been most consistent when it comes to accuracy. His ball flight is different according to people who saw him kick the football, right? Take that for what you will. So Kaahaaina's done a really good job. He's Mike Ekeler's guy through and through. There's a reason why he brought him in. The only question I have around Kaahaaina is kicking 50-yard, 55-yard field goals because he's been pretty much lights out inside 45 yards, 40 yards. But what we've heard from the coaching staff, what we've heard from the Nuggets is that once you get to 50, once you get to 55, once you get to some of these bigger field goals they kind of need to make, he's not only is he not consistent, he doesn't make any of them. And that's the same thing with John Hull. That's the same thing with Tristan Ovano, who's not even, competitive in this kicker battle at this point. So I just need Kaahaaina to be consistent all over the field. But if you're consistent inside the 45, that's really all I care about. Make the easy ones. Make the manageable ones. Because everything else will figure itself out after that. And you go to Archie Wilson, all the smoke, all the hype is real. Archie Wilson's the real deal. So I'm not really looking forward to Nebraska punting it all this season, but I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think the rest of you guys are as well. And then also, I just think the best part about the special teams unit really isn't talked about. It's the return game. Nebraska has not had a dynamic returner in the better part of a decade. Okay. Not only are we going to have a dynamic punt return game, but we're also going to have a dynamic kick return game with different players. Jacory, Barney, I think it's going to be one of the best punt returners in the country this year. And you also have Andrew Marshall out there. Both of those guys incredibly elusive, fast, shifty, can take any single ball to the house. You go to the kick return department. You have Kenneth Williams, who's super fast, who's going to return kicks. You got Isaiah Mozee. We already know what he is. So I think that's the difference maker of the special teams unit. It isn't kicking through the uprights. It isn't the punting unit. It's the ability to flip the field with our return men, which we haven't been able to do literally since DeMornay Pierce-Snell. So I'm excited to see that specifically against Cincinnati, flipping the field with Jacory Barney, big punt return potentially he brings back to the house. But salute to Mike Ekeler, man. He's done a great job, but it's time to prove it on game day. All right, last but not least, let's have a conversation. Let's sit down. Let's buckle up. I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great. This all sounds too good to be true. The Kool-Aid is flowing. We're 4 days away. Is the hype real? Okay. Will we actually, let's just call it what it is. Will we make the college football playoffs? Okay. I'll tell you this right now. We're easily an 8-9 win team. Okay. I predicted 9 wins. I think that to this day, I'm still predicting 9 wins. This team is talented enough to win nine games. Okay. So I'll set it right there. But are we good enough to make the college football playoffs? That is the question. Is the hype real that this big jump is going to happen? As of right now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think so. I don't think so. But here's the huge caveat. The team that we are right now is not the team that we're going to be in week 4 against Michigan or week 7 or week 10. Okay. We're going to get better as the season progresses. Okay. As of right now, are we good enough to win 10 games? Probably not. Like, we have some concerns still going into Cincinnati. The penalties have been a big issue throughout fall camp, right? The false starts, the holdings, the offsides on both offense and defense. That needs to clean stuff up. You know, I'm looking at some veterans who need to step up and really make their careers count, whether it's a Turner Corcoran, a Teddy Prohaska, a Janiran Bonner, a Malcolm Hartzog. Like, it's not necessarily some of the young guys. It's some of the veterans who are already starters on this team or are part of this 2 deep. They need to prove that, okay, you're one of the best players on the squad and you potentially are going to go to the NFL. You know, Nebraska needs to win the tight games. That's something that we can't define until we actually get to the season. But in order for Nebraska to win 10 games, we're going to be in tight games. And we need to pull through. We need to get those dubs. And the last but not least, it comes down to Dylan Raiola. He's had a very strong fall ball. But there's only so much you can do in practice. Okay, we're not going to have the answers around Dylan until we actually play ball games. Okay, we know he's a top 20 quarterback. But in order for Nebraska, in my mind, to win 10 games, to even win 11 games, he needs to be a top 10 guy. He needs to be potentially a top 5 guy even. Okay. So those are the things that are kind of holding Nebraska back. I would say, I'll be honest with you, I think the hype's real. I do think Nebraska's a 9-win team right now, but you got to fix the penalties more than everything else. You got to fix some of these issues with the veterans. But, you know, I'm going to sit the Kool-Aid, because I think we're going to go out there against Cincinnati, and it'll be a sloppy ball game. It's not going to be perfect. We saw all the week 0 games yesterday. They weren't great, but the team that we are against Cincinnati will not be the team we are against Michigan. We're going to develop a lot in those games, in those 3 weeks, more than we have in fall ball. Okay. So in order for us to win 10 games, we need to develop a lot, because we're not a finished product right now. So to answer the question, is the hype real? You know what? I'm going to say the hype is real, because I am very confident this team's good enough as of right now to win 8 games for sure, probably 9 games. Okay. So that's why I'm very confident in this team. Trust the staff. Trust the coaching, trust the team in general, trust the Huskers, trust the veterans, trust the freshmen. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a very fun season. I'm nervous. I'm excited. Man, we got to go out there on Thursday against Cincinnati at Arrowhead. We got to dominate. Like, I don't want this to be a close game. We got to go out there and dominate. Prove to people why they're right and believing in us. Put the spotlight on us as quick as possible, because if we're expecting to be a good team this year, we got to get used to it. We got to get used to the spotlight. Get used to the expectations. I'm feeling good. I hope you are too. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Hey, if you made this far in the video, hit that like button and subscribe. I appreciate all of you as always. Go Big Red, go Met Roll. I'll see you in the next one.